Hey guys, so today I'm beyond excited to be collaborating with the first ever luxury beauty brand that I got into when I got into makeup, and still one of my all-time holy grail favorite brands, YSL. And it is to tell you all about their brand new concealer, which is totally game-changing. So this is part of their All Hours collection. You might have tried the foundation, which is exceptional. The consistency is just unreal. This is the Precise Angles concealer. Now it comes in 18 shades, and the reason why this is so amazing, it's actually formulated with 85% skincare ingredients. So it is super hydrating. It offers 24-hour wear, so it's like long wearing but still hydrating. Super high coverage but not cakey. Honestly, you have to try it to believe it. The finish is stunning. It's like matte but still luminous. I'm not a massive fan of matte finishes. I love everything quite dewy. This is like glowy but matte. It stays in place, it doesn't crease, it doesn't move, and the applicator is this super unique, like prism shaped applicator that allows you to get really precise with your application. The other thing that is super impressive with this is the size. It's 15 mil. So to put that into context, most concealers are between kind of 6 and 10 mil, maybe like 11, 12 if you're pushing it, but 15 mil, I mean, you can tell by the size of it. This is huge. This could be like a travel size foundation. You get a lot of product, and you don't need to use a lot of product either. So this is gonna last a super long time. The packaging is stunning, as per usual with YSL. All of their packaging is stunning. The shade I'm using is LN4. There are 18 shades that are actually organized into light, medium and dark, but then also warm, cool and neutral. I definitely recommend checking out the shades on the website, but their organization of kind of the shade names and categorizing makes it really easy to pick your shade as well. So we're going to take a little rewind now, take all of my makeup off, and not only show you how I like to apply this concealer using the applicator, because the consistency is one thing, the applicator is actually totally separate. Both of them are amazing together. This concealer is outstandingly good. So I'm going to show you how I like to apply it, but I'm also going to be sharing some of my tips for applying concealer that I've learned over the years, a few tips, a few hacks, and some of my favorite ways to make the most out of your concealer. So I'm starting off with zero makeup on, except for a little bit in my eyebrows, and my first #1 tip, and the thing you want to do first before you apply any concealer, if you want to make the most out of your concealer, is to make sure that your skin is well prepped. So whether or not that is an eye serum, a face serum, etc., no matter what you are concealing, you want to make sure your skin is in the optimal condition underneath in order to make it sit right, but also make it last longer. So if you're concealing a spot and it's dry, you're going to have issues. If you're concealing under your eyes and they're dry, they will not only look more wrinkly, so the wrinkles under your eye will look worse if your under eye skin is dry, but they also won't last as long. It leads me on to my second point, is I always go for high coverage concealer, or higher coverage concealer than you would automatically think, considering I don't always go for a full coverage face of makeup, because less is more with concealer. You want to be applying it exactly where you need it, and just the smallest amount of it, so you don't get that cakey kind of layered up finish. Some concealers layer really well, a lot of them don't, but at the end of the day, if you can use less product on your skin, it's going to look more natural. It's a higher coverage concealer and a lower coverage foundation, rather than having that high coverage all over. And that's the other thing I love about this, is the applicator. So it has a super precise kind of like a prism shaped applicator, and it is very pointed. So what it allows you to do is to literally get in right in the inner corner where you want that coverage. And if you are getting a little bit older and you're starting to notice the first signs of aging under your eyes, which is, for me, is 100% the case, the place that you can do the least about in terms of treatments, but also in terms of concealing as well, because concealer doesn't always look good there. Work out where you need it and where you want to put it. And for me, this is the inner corners, because that tends to be where you get the most discoloration. So what I then like to do is to use the side of the applicator and take it from the corner of my eye up towards my temple, and then the corner of my eye to the underneath of my temple, like that. So that will give like a really lifting effect, almost like you're applying eyeliner on that first line. And then take a little bit, again, using the finer edge under here, so that you can blend it upwards and get that kind of lifted effect that you get when you do that classic kind of V of concealer, but actually you're just getting a really brightened look. So if I blend that in, again, you can do this with your fingers as well. That's the other thing with concealer. I personally love using a damp sponge more than anything else, but It does also work really well to use your fingers, especially for like areas like this, like inner corner, because it also helps the product really melt into your skin because it is warming up at the same time. But you can see the difference that makes in terms of brightening up the eye area, but also lifting from here. So it really helps you look more awake and kind of your face look more sculpted. But I haven't put any concealer in this little bit here that is a little bit more wrinkly, aside from a little bit of kind of blending out. So you're really not focusing on that area that is a problem area for fine lines. You can see the difference that has made. That's really not a lot of product. I'm going to do the other side and then talk a little bit more about where else I like to put this product. The next thing I love to do with this concealer in particular, you can obviously do this with your favorite concealer, whatever, but this applies so well in terms of sculpting the face. And the trick that they have recommended for this applicator is actually to do a Y, like for YSL, on the forehead like that, and then straight down the face. And this obviously like focuses on the high point of your face, but also isn't applying a crazy amount of the product. And you can see the finish of this is just amazing, and genuinely the staying power is outrageously good. It is so good. And the next thing I'm going to do is just a little bit of sculpting of the face with a darker shade as well, which obviously you don't have to do. A lot of people do this. You can kind of add it in however you want in terms of where you want different shape or different kind of sculpting throughout the face. But because of the precision of the applicator, it makes it super easy to use for sculpting as well. So you can literally take it and just add that dimension back into the face. So you can see the difference that's made with just a little bit of product that is higher coverage, rather than using a full coverage foundation. Using a higher coverage concealer where you need it is a lot better in terms of getting a natural finish, but still really flawless kind of high coverage look. I'm going to apply a little bit of foundation on top. I'm using the YSL All Hours foundation, which if you haven't tried this is also spectacular. The consistency is amazing. But what I'm going to do is come back and show you afterwards how I also set concealer, because for me that has been an absolute game changer, getting the right technique for my skin, especially around the eyes, because I don't love powder, but equally I want my concealer to stay in place. At the same time, it's like working out that balance of how much powder to use, how to apply it, how to make sure your concealer is staying kind of as fresh looking as possible throughout the day without kind of overloading yourself with product. Okay, so the rest of my foundation is now in place. And for powder, I struggled with powder for years and years. For a long time I didn't use it, I was using setting sprays. But actually this trick with powder that I found through YouTube, and I can't remember who it was a couple of years ago now, is actually to use my damp sponge for powder as well. It allows you to apply just the right amount, but it not to be like really cakey or anything. And the second tip in terms of setting is to go back in with your damp sponge and actually like smooth out the product again immediately before you put the powder on. A lot of people tend to do their concealer, their foundation, all the other way around, do the rest of their makeup, and then powder is the last step, by which time the unpowdered concealer has like already creased. If you go in immediately before and smooth everything out, then go in with a little bit of powder. And I like to use a loose powder, dip the pointed end of the sponge in, not even using much product at all, exactly where you want it. So for me it's like right where I've applied that concealer on the inner corner, and then out here, that kind of like lifted area. And it really makes such a difference. So that is it for this video. I hope some of you found it useful, and if you are thinking about checking out the new YSL concealer, 100% recommend, but I'll pop a link below where you can check it out, and I'll see you soon. Bye.